The number one mistake that you can make is judging narcissistic abuse victims as antisocials when they avoid social gatherings. It's not that they hate people. It's just that people, at some point, became a source of pain rather than comfort. Social events, which are supposed to be fun and relaxing, can feel more like a battlefield. Crowds can be overwhelming, and conversations feel fake. It's not about being rude or distant. It's about self-protection. Today, we'll dive into why victims of narcissistic abuse tend to withdraw from social gatherings and what's going on in their minds. Are you ready for number 1? Trust issues. When you've been manipulated and betrayed by someone you trusted, it's hard to believe that anyone else will be different. You might wonder if people are kind because they care or just want something from you. Dr. Leslie Becker Phelps, author of Insecure in Love, explains that past emotional wounds can make you hyper-aware of possible betrayal, even when none exists. It's not that you don't want to trust. It's that your brain has been trained to expect the worst. To avoid getting hurt again, you steer clear of those situations. The problem is that isolation only reinforces those fears. The more you avoid socializing, the more your mind convinces you that people can't be trusted. Psychologist Dr. Emma Seppala, in her The Happiness Track, points out that meaningful social connections are essential for healing. But victims of narcissistic abuse often struggle to let people in. It's okay to take your time, but remember that not everyone is out to manipulate you. Some people genuinely want to know you for who you are, not for what they can take from you. Let's talk about number 2. Fear of being judged. Social gatherings can become overwhelming after years of dealing with a narcissist. It's the result of constant criticism and gaslighting that makes you doubt your worth. According to Dr. Nina W. Brown, author of Children of the Self-Absorbed, narcissists create deep self-doubt, making victims overly self-conscious socially. Even when people are just being friendly, your brain might twist it into judgment or rejection. This fear can become so strong that avoiding people feels safer than risking embarrassment. But as psychologist Dr. Ellen Hendrickson points out in her book, How to Be Yourself, social anxiety is often rooted in the false belief that everyone is watching and judging you. In reality, most people are too caught up in their thoughts to scrutinize you. Breaking free from this fear starts with challenging those old narratives. Remind yourself that you deserve to take up space, be heard, and be accepted just as you are. Let's move on to number 3. Overstimulation. Your nervous system is basically on high alert all the time due to the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. So, your brain short-circuits when you step into a crowded room filled with noise, movement, and overlapping conversations. You're not just hearing sounds, you're processing every tiny detail, looking for signs of danger or disapproval. This is called hypervigilance, a common trauma response where your brain stays stuck in survival mode. Dr. Judith Herman, in her book Trauma and Recovery, explains that trauma survivors often struggle with sensory overload because their nervous systems have been trained to expect conflict or manipulation. Instead of enjoying the moment, you might feel exhausted just trying to keep up with everything happening around you. Your mind races, your heart pounds, and the urge to escape takes over. That's not you being antisocial, it's your body trying to protect you. Dr. Elaine Aron, author of The Highly Sensitive Person, notes that people with heightened sensitivity, often trauma survivors, need more downtime to recover from overstimulating environments. Now, let's continue to number 4, struggles with small talk. Small talk can feel like torture for narcissistic abuse victims. Imagine you've been through emotional battles, questioning your reality, your worth, and even your sanity. So when someone asks, "How's the weather?" or "Seen any good movies lately?" your brain just short-circuits. You're used to analyzing every conversation for hidden motives, not exchanging casual pleasantries. Dr. Lindsay Gibson, author of Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, explains that trauma survivors crave depth because they've spent so much time deciphering manipulation and deception. Shallow conversations feel meaningless when you've had to fight for emotional survival. Instead of chit-chatting about weekend plans, you want real conversations, the kind where people are vulnerable, honest, and actively listening. But in social settings, most people stick to surface-level topics, and that can leave you feeling disconnected, even lonely. So if small talk exhausts you, it's not because you're rude or socially awkward. It's because your mind craves depth. And honestly, after everything you've been through, you deserve meaningful connections. You shouldn't miss number 5, feeling like an outsider. Have you ever felt like you're living in a different world than everyone else? You walk into a social gathering, and while others are laughing and chatting effortlessly, you feel like an outsider looking in. It's not that you don't want to connect, you do. However, the things that once seemed normal now feel foreign. Even when people are kind, you might still feel distant, like there's an invisible wall between you and them. How do you talk about your experiences without feeling like you're bringing the mood down? How do you explain the years of gaslighting and emotional manipulation without sounding too sensitive? Dr. Gabor Mate, in his book When the Body Says No, points out that trauma can create a deep sense of separation. It makes socializing feel more like a performance than a genuine connection. So, if you feel like an outsider in a crowd, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your experiences have changed the way you see the world. And that's okay. Finding people who truly get it takes time, but those connections will be worth the wait. Are you still up for number 6? They've become selective about their energy. After the narcissist sucked up your energy, you start seeing social interactions differently. You no longer feel the need to talk to everyone or force yourself into situations that drain you. Instead, you become selective about where you spend your energy. Dr. Thema Bryant, psychologist and author of Homecoming, Overcome Fear and Trauma to Reclaim Your Whole. Authentic Self explains that healing from emotional abuse means learning to honor your boundaries and only give your energy to what nurtures you. You've spent too much time walking on eggshells and dealing with manipulative people. So now, if a gathering feels forced, fake, or emotionally exhausting, you simply choose not to go. This doesn't mean you're antisocial. It means you value your peace. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your time, and you no longer feel guilty about that. So, if you'd rather choose to stay home over shallow talk or unsafe company, isn't isolation, it's self-respect. The right people will understand and appreciate the energy you bring when you do show up. Let's keep it moving to number 7. Guilt for taking up space. After being conditioned to believe you're too much or in the way, stepping into a room full of people can feel like a struggle. You might find yourself shrinking, apologizing too much, or trying to take up as little space as possible physically and emotionally. Dr. Jonas Webb, author of Running on Empty: Overcome Your Childhood Emotional Neglect, explains that when someone is repeatedly made to feel like a burden, they internalize the belief that their presence is an inconvenience. Instead of enjoying the gathering, you stress over being too talkative, loud, and intrusive, or that your existence might bother someone. Over time, this guilt makes you avoid social events altogether. You tell yourself it's better to stay home than to feel like an outsider or an extra in the room. But here's the truth. Your presence is not a problem, and you don't need to apologize for existing. The people who genuinely care about you won't see you as a burden. They'll be glad you showed up. Here comes number 8. Lack of safe support systems. Social gatherings no longer feel warm or welcoming. They can feel like a battlefield. Maybe the narcissist had spread lies about you, turning friends or family against you. Or maybe you distanced yourself from people who dismissed your pain with comments like, "Are you sure it was that bad?" Without a solid support system, showing up to an event can feel like walking into a room full of people who either misunderstand you or secretly judge you. Dr. Lindsay Gibson, author of Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, explains that narcissists often isolate their victims by controlling the narrative. They make it difficult for them to maintain close relationships. Because of this, you might feel safer avoiding social events altogether. It's exhausting pretending everything is fine when inside you feel like an outsider. And let's be real, who wants to sit through a conversation with people who once believed or still believe the narcissist's twisted version of events? Listen closely. The right people will believe you, support you, and make you feel safe again. Moving on to number 9. They've developed a lone wolf mentality. After all the manipulation and betrayal, being alone feels like the safest option. You've learned that people can be unpredictable. One moment they're kind, and the next they're twisting your words or using your vulnerabilities against you. So, you retreat. At first, it's just self-preservation, but over time it becomes second nature. Isolation becomes a comfort zone, even if deep down you crave connection. The problem is, once you've built that lone wolf mentality, it's hard to break out of it. Socializing feels exhausting, and might even convince yourself that you don't need people at all. After all, solitude has protected you before. However, the challenge isn't just avoiding toxic people. It's learning to trust the safe ones again. Healing doesn't mean forcing yourself into uncomfortable social situations, but it does mean recognizing that not everyone is a threat. Finally, we're down to number 10. Depression and low mood. Depression keeps you stuck in a cycle where isolation feels like the only relief, but that same isolation makes healing even harder. Socializing feels like running a marathon with no training. It's not that you don't want connection. It's that you don't have the energy for it. Social gatherings require effort, smiling, making conversation, pretending you're fine when you're not. And after years of having your emotions dismissed or ridiculed, faking it feels exhausting. As Johann Hari writes in Lost Connections, the opposite of depression isn't happiness, it's connection. The problem is that when your trust is broken and your self-worth is low, reaching out doesn't feel like an option. So, you withdraw, not because you don't care, but because you're just trying to survive one day at a time. Avoiding social gatherings after narcissistic abuse isn't about being unfriendly. It's about self-preservation. When trust is shattered and socializing feels exhausting instead of comforting, stepping back makes sense. If someone you know constantly withdraws or turns down invitations, don't take it personally. Offer patience and a safe space instead of pressure. And if you're the one struggling, remember this: you don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. Heal at your own pace and surround yourself with people who make you feel safe, not drained.